$4.94. That's what Richard Spencer had left on his Starbucks card when he walked into a Boston store in August 2022 and asked for it back in cash. Under Massachusetts general laws, Chapter 200A, Section 5D, he had the legal right. Any gift card balance under $5 must be refunded on request. The barista said no. A nickel shy of $5, a nickel shy of his legal cash-out threshold, and a flat refusal. So Spencer filed a federal class action lawsuit in the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Washington. Spencer v. Starbucks Corp. Case number 222-CV-01195. And what his case accidentally exposed wasn't an oversight. It was a $1.75 billion shadow bank hiding inside a coffee company. A bank that holds more customer cash than roughly 90% of every FDIC-insured bank in America. A bank that pays zero interest, carries zero deposit insurance, holds zero reserves against your money, and every year legally converts more than $200 million of forgotten customer money directly into pure corporate profit. This is how Starbucks accidentally became one of the largest unregulated deposit-taking institutions in the United States. It started, weirdly enough, as a coffee bean shop. In 1971, Jerry Baldwin, Zeb Siegel, and Gordon Bowker opened Starbucks in Seattle's Pike Place market. They sold beans and equipment, nothing else. Then in 1983, the company's director of retail operations, a young Howard Schultz, flew to Milan. He watched Italians lean against espresso bars by the thousands. The volume stunned him. The repetition stunned him. He came home obsessed with what he'd later call the third place. Not home, not work, but a daily ritual stop. A habit you bought into without thinking. In November 2001, Starbucks launched its first reloadable card in North America. Prepay for coffee. Skip the wallet. Simple. Then came the loophole. April 2004. The Washington State Legislature passed Senate Bill 6432, Chapter 168, Laws of 2004. It created a new statute, RCW 19.240. It exempted gift cards from the state's Uniform Unclaimed Property Act, as long as the cards didn't expire and didn't charge fees. Read the legislative intent and it sounds like a gift to consumers. No expiration dates, no fees, no dormancy charges. But Starbucks and a coalition of Washington-based retailers had lobbied hard for it, and what the law really did was hand them the right to keep unspent balances forever. In most states, forgotten customer money eventually reverts to the government. It's called escheatment. In New York, 100% of unused gift card balances must be turned over. Same in Georgia. In Washington, after 2004, none of it had to be. Before the loophole, the state had collected around $2.7 million a year in escheated gift card balances. After it, that revenue stream went to zero, and the cash stayed with the retailers. In April 2008, Starbucks layered on the loyalty hook. My Starbucks Rewards launched. Register your card, earn stars, earn free drinks, get tied into the ecosystem. In September 2009, the first Starbucks mobile app went live. By January 2011, you could pay nationwide just by scanning a barcode linked to your preloaded card. Now you didn't need plastic. You just preloaded $20 and waved your phone. By October 2012, the prepaid balance had grown so massive that Starbucks had to break it out as its own balance sheet line item. They named it Stored Value Card Liability. Here's what's actually happening. The moment you load that 20, you're not buying coffee. You're handing Starbucks $20 of physical tender in exchange for a digital IOU. That cash hits Starbucks' general operating account immediately, pooled with everything else. From that moment on, the company can deploy it however it wants. Fund new stores, pay down high-interest debt, buy back stock. If a real bank took your $20 as a deposit, it would owe you interest. It would face Federal Reserve requirements. It would pay FDIC insurance premiums every single quarter. Because your money can only be redeemed for coffee and food, Starbucks isn't legally classified as a bank, so none of those rules apply. Zero interest paid, zero reserves held, zero insurance premiums. You just gave a multinational corporation an interest-free loan, and you don't even get a thank you note. But the real magic isn't the float, it's the drift. In retail, breakage is the industry term for the money customers never come back for, the forgotten balances, the lost cards, the abandoned apps, the relative who got a $25 gift card 3 Christmases ago and never used it. For Starbucks, the historical breakage rate runs around 13.7% of outstanding balances. which means Starbucks isn't borrowing your money at 0% interest. It's borrowing it at a deeply negative interest rate. You are paying them up to nearly 14 cents on every dollar for the privilege of holding your cash. No commercial bank on earth gets terms like that. No corporate bond issuer gets terms like that. Starbucks, on its coffee app, gets them every single day. And then there's the accounting trick that turns that drift into reported revenue. It's called ASC 606. In May 2014, the Financial Accounting Standards Board, working with its international counterpart, issued ASC 606, Revenue from Contracts with Customers, a sweeping rewrite of how American companies recognize revenue. Before ASC 606, Starbucks used what's called the remote method. A forgotten $50 had to sit on the balance sheet as a liability for years. Only when the mathematical chance of redemption became essentially zero could Starbucks write it off. And when they did write it off, it got buried under interest income and other, net, a non-operating line item most investors skim past. In June 2015, the SEC pressed Starbucks on this exact treatment. Starbucks defended it, but the rules were already changing underneath them. In January 2017, Starbucks quietly disclosed in a quarterly filing that adopting ASC 606 would force it to abandon the remote method. The replacement? The proportional method. On October 1st, 2018, the start of Starbucks' 2019 fiscal year, the switch flipped. Here's how it works. If Starbucks estimates that 10% of loaded funds never get redeemed, then every time you spend $10 on a latte, they immediately book an extra slice, roughly $1.11, as breakage revenue, right alongside your sale. And here's the kicker. That money no longer sits in some obscure non-operating line. ASC 606 moved it straight into total net revenues, core operating revenue, right next to the latte. No coffee was brewed, no milk was steamed, no barista was paid. There is no cost of goods sold, which means the breakage flows straight down to the operating margin line as 100% pure profit. So let's look at the actual numbers from Starbucks' own SEC filings. Note 11 of the Form 10-K, deferred revenue. In fiscal year 2024, which closed on September 29, 2024, customers loaded $15.8071 billion onto Starbucks cards and app accounts. $15.8 billion deposited interest-free by coffee drinkers. Customers redeemed $15.6651 billion of it for coffee, food, and merchandise. But $1.7187 billion was still sitting on the balance sheet, unclaimed. And Starbucks booked $207.6 million in pure breakage revenue, $187.6 million from company-operated stores, plus $20 million from licensed stores. In fiscal year 2025, the engine ran harder. Customers loaded $15.2458 billion, redeemed $15.1995 billion, closed the year with $1.7517 billion in liability on the books, and Starbucks recognized $222.4 million in total breakage revenue, $200.4 million from company stores, $22 million from licensees. Every single year, the number lands north of $200 million, $215 million in fiscal 2023, $207.6 million in 2024, $222.4 million in 2025. A reliable, predictable, 100% margin revenue stream that didn't exist in any meaningful way before the app. And during the holidays, the float swells like a tide. Between September 28, 2025 and December 28, 2025, a single 90-day stretch, Starbucks' stored value balance ballooned from $1.7517 billion to $2.0733 billion, a net $321.6 million increase in interest-free capital in 3 months, from holiday shoppers buying gift cards for people who may never spend them. The prior year's holiday peak was even higher, $2.2131 billion at the end of December 2024, more cash than the deposits of thousands of American community banks combined. People started noticing. In November 2022, a coalition of labor unions called the Strategic Organizing Center, representing more than 4 million workers, filed a formal complaint with the SEC. Their allegation? Starbucks was using breakage as an earnings smoother, plugging it into the P&L whenever quarterly numbers needed help hitting Wall Street's consensus. In fiscal 2021 alone, $181 million in breakage revenue accounted for roughly 4.3% of Starbucks' net income, 12 cents of earnings per share, enough to move the stock, enough to hit bonus targets. Then, on December 19, 2023, the Washington Consumer Protection Coalition filed a 15-page complaint with State Attorney General Bob Ferguson. Their accusation: Starbucks was using dark patterns, deliberate design choices inside the app to trap customer money. money, forced reload minimums, restrictions on splitting payment between card and cash, friction at every exit. Designs that pushed customers into perpetual reloading just to drain a balance that never quite hit zero. The complaint called it essentially an involuntary Starbucks subscription. You keep adding money, you can never quite get it back out. A few dollars here and there left on a payment platform may not sound like a lot, Coalition campaign manager Chris Carter said. But over the last 5 years, Starbucks has claimed nearly $900 million in unspent gift card and app money as corporate revenue, boosting corporate profits and inflating executive bonuses. $900 million from small balances, from forgotten cards, from customers who just wanted their $4.94 back. In January 2024, State Senator Yasmin Trudeau and Representative Emily Alvarado pre-filed the Gift Card Accountability Act, Senate Bill 5988 and House Bill 2095. "We don't buy gift cards," Trudeau said, expecting that a large corporation is going to find ways to keep as much of that as they can. The bill would force large companies to hand over unused balances to the state's unclaimed property fund after 3 years of inactivity, undoing the 2004 loophole. Trudeau argued that money should fund schools, public health, affordable housing, not corporate bonuses. Corporate opposition was immediate and fierce. The bill stalled. Meanwhile, the lawsuits keep coming. In March 2020, Robert Paskey sued in Los Angeles Superior Court, case number 20-STCV-10344, after a West Hollywood Starbucks barista refused to refund his $1.70 balance. In January 2021, that case was pushed into private arbitration, buried under the mandatory arbitration clause embedded in the Starbucks app terms of service. Spencer's federal case from 2022 likely met the same fate. Starbucks systematically uses arbitration to keep these disputes out of public courtrooms. No precedent, no public record, no class. The one time regulators did force a public settlement was back in August 2009, when district attorneys in Shasta, Monterey, and Sonoma counties hit Starbucks with a $225,000 civil penalty for refusing low balance cash outs under California Civil Code Section 1749.5. Against the $222.4 million in breakage Starbucks now books in a single year, that penalty isn't a deterrent. It's a rounding error. The cost of doing business, rounded to 4 decimal places. Howard Schultz built the architecture. In September 2024, Brian Niccol took over as CEO, charged with reviving sagging same-store sales under the banner Back to Starbucks. He's bringing back handwritten names on cups, restoring the physical third place, trying to make the stores feel human again. But the app engine keeps humming underneath. Billions in transaction volume, $2 billion in float. The financial machine doesn't care about cup writing. And this playbook isn't just a Starbucks story anymore. Amazon holds nearly $3 billion in unredeemed gift card liabilities. Walmart and Target are racing to expand their own closed-loop wallets. Across the retail and tech landscape, consumer apps have quietly become shadow banking platforms. Billions in customer liquidity sitting in unregulated corporate treasuries with no deposit insurance, no reserve requirements, no oversight. If a major retailer collapsed tomorrow, millions of consumers would discover that their digital deposits weren't deposits at all, just promises, unsecured, unprotected, gone. The Federal Trade Commission is sniffing around the dark patterns. State legislatures are sniffing around the escheatment loopholes, but the float keeps growing. So the next time you glance at your phone and see a $1.35 trapped on some coffee app, some burger app, some retailer app, look closer. That isn't spare change. That's a tiny, fractional cog inside a multi-billion-dollar treasury machine that has quietly figured out how to financialize human forgetfulness. A machine that turned coffee into currency and forgetting into pure, uncosted, unregulated profit.